Blog Talk Radio. Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show on Blog Talk Radio with me, Astrologer Shelley Overton. Each week, we go over the planetary positions, discuss astrology, and take callers' questions. If you would like to call in and get a reading, you can call 347-994-3365. Call in early as the lines fill up. Welcome to the April 23rd, 2019 episode of the AstroEnergy Astrology Podcast Show. Welcome. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I'm happy to be here with you today on this glorious spring day. It's 74 degrees and sunny here in Orlando. It is the reason why people come to Florida, no doubt, because it's going to be 84 and sunny today. Exciting. Very happy about that. So today we're going to be talking about Pluto, but I just want to touch base real quick and see. I'm trying to open a chat room here. I'm not sure. I guess I kind of opened it. I'm not really sure what the heck it's doing. It looks very strange. Anyway, if you want to get in the chat room, I'm there. And I just want to mention that the opening now, I called in through Skype because that's my only option here with the half-hour show. And it sounds all warpy to me on my end, and I find it really interesting because I used to use Skype to call in when that was all they had on Blog Talk, and it worked perfectly fine. But now they have their own version of it in-house, and so now it's all warpy. Anyway, I just wondered if you could tell me in the chat room if you hear it that way too or if it's just me, but I tend to believe it's probably you as well. Anyway, we're still trying to figure out how to transition, and I know I mentioned it 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to use Zoom. I just have never used Zoom for the purpose of a podcast, and it's probably also going to be a visual medium, so that kind of makes it a little bit different weekly type process. And I'll just be honest, I'm a little skittish, a little shy to do it, and so I'm in the process of figuring out how to do kind of a test show with that. So keep an eye out on Facebook on the Angelic Zodiac site and the AstroEnergy page on Facebook, because I will post there to let you know, and maybe even do an event page probably for AstroEnergy to do like a test run. And I'm going to try and get my nerve up to do it later this week, and so that you can all listen in to another version of the show later, and then we can really transition over to that format. And that will actually be more beneficial because I can also post it up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and then get extra people listening to the podcast and to the show. So I'm very excited about doing that. Just a little bit, when you haven't done something that you're not familiar with, it's kind of like, oh, how's it going to work? And I don't know. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's just a little shyness going on. And you wouldn't think so because I'm pretty comfortable with this format, so I'm also pretty comfortable talking to you. But, I'm not totally sure about Zoom, but we will get the kinks worked out and figure it all out together, and then maybe we'll just transition over there. So Monday was Earth Day. Did you do anything wonderful for Earth Day? I've got, if you listen to the podcast throughout the year, January, I gave the rundown of the year in 2 different episodes. So if you want to look that up, you can go back into the archive and listen to my year in preview episodes from, I believe it was like the last week of December and the first week of January, and I split it down by the different signs. Half, Aries through Virgo, the first episode, and Libra through Pisces, the second episode. And when I do that, I go through my little Llewellyn's Daily Planetary Guide, and I highlight the weeks and the days and whatever seems to jump out at me in this guide. And so last week, it was kind of busy. Of course, we had Notre Dame, and then we had the Mueller report last week, and it was rather busy. It had a lot of green on it, which is my color for, pretty good, full moon in Libra. And Sun entered Taurus on Saturday, and then, of course, Easter was Sunday, and I had a little bit of orange going on there because Venus entered Aries on Saturday. Then I flipped the page over for this week, and it goes the whole week, Monday through Sunday, and it's all orange. So I'll just go through day by day and tell you what's on each day here, and then we'll go back over it and tell you what's going on with the Pluto Retrograde, which is this week. So Monday was Earth Day, and Sun was conjunct Uranus and Taurus that day, which can be rather cruel because Taurus energy is there's a formula where you can take whatever sign or whatever, whether it's a rising sign or a sun sign or any planet or any place of interest in a chart. And honestly, I don't know if this is something that I just kind of created myself or if I heard it somewhere, but it seems to work. So whatever energy you're looking at becomes the first house position, which is the identity of the issue. And it's probably a combination of horary reading, which is learning about astrology of asking a question, and the moment of the question being asked becomes the chart for the question. There are different techniques with that particular formula of doing astrology, and I kind of probably overlaid it into reading a chart. I'm not really sure. Anyway, what I do is whatever the issue is or wherever the focus is in the chart, that becomes the first house, and then the house after it becomes the second house, or the materiality, the manifestation in the physical world of whatever the issue is, and you can kind of read the energy from that. So when you have an energy in Aries, the second house is Taurus, which is the materiality of it, and the first house being Aries, it's driven, it's assertive, aggressive, and it's more action-based. But then it comes, and it could be theoretical action, or it could be just energy movement. But in the second house, Taurus, the energy comes into the physical. So if there's any aggression whatsoever, it can be expressed through the material, and that's when we see more physical violence or aggression in, say, punching or hitting or kicking. Taurus can bring that out in some sense. Now, that being said, I've known Taurians, and they're a lot of very lovely people. I'm not saying that Taurus is an abusive sign for everyone per se. It's not. But it is the first sign of the earth energy. And if there is aggression, now remember, if Taurus is the first house, say it's a rising sign, the 12th house is Aries. So there is pent-up energy around anger or frustration in the subconscious with Taurus on the horizon, with Taurus as the ego energy. And so that can come out. And so having the Sun join Uranus on Earth Day is a somewhat combustible energy because Uranus is air, and it is also the unexpected, joined with the fiery energy of the Sun in Earth. And it can also mean there are alternative ways of growing things, or food becomes an issue. And as an example, I don't know if my daughter can hear me. She probably can. She came home early because she wasn't feeling well, and she seems to think it's because the food she's been eating has not been very good. And I'll tell you, I had issues yesterday with coffee and it not agreeing with me. And lately, since Uranus went into Taurus, and then, of course, Mercury was retrograde in Pisces, the energy of food has definitely shifted for me and for my family, and I somewhat anticipated that happening. The chemicals, the chemistry, the body makeup, that can happen. And so, it's out there, and it's not terribly pleasant when you experience it, but it is really a huge shift and an awakening around our diets. And so that energy is now really strong and kind of focused with the sun being right on Uranus. And today, sun's at 3 degrees Taurus and Uranus is at 2 degrees. So the sun just went past Uranus, and he is on his way towards Mars, but he will probably be superseded by Mercury before he gets there. I don't have that date up here, but I know it's coming because Mercury is a fairly fast mover. Let me just look. Now that I mentioned it, I hate just leaving you hanging. So I'll look it up real quick here and see if I can see when Mercury actually gets past the sun, if he in fact does. Okay, so this is interesting. So they both go into Gemini the very same day. So they're at 29 Taurus on the 21st of May. So May 21st, and that's also Gemini energy after that. So it's going to be a lot of talking, a lot of communication about what was found out when the Sun and Mercury joined up. So interestingly, the Sun is going from Uranus, so he transited over Uranus, and that means he got a lot of information about the energy that's been going on last week. The Mueller report, what's going on with the fire at Notre Dame, the bombings in Sri Lanka. So there's a lot of information that on the surface we know about these events, but we don't know what caused them or what really transpired before they happened. And so that is going to be coming out with this energy, especially when Mercury gets into Taurus and then goes over Uranus. There will be really kind of like a watershed of information. Probably, it is an Earth energy, so it'll be probably a lot of material goods like papers and information in the form of, evidence or materiality. And then he actually goes from Uranus to the Sun, so there will be a huge exchange of information and awakening and awareness, enlightenment going on with Mercury, and then he will hit the Sun and enlighten it, and it will become common knowledge and shared with everyone because the Sun brightens everything, it lightens it up, it brings light to the dark of night. So that kind of archetype or energy, I guess archetype is probably the best word for that. Anyway, that's happening. And then the 23rd, which is today, we have Venus conjuncted Chiron at 12:55 p.m. Actually, okay, that hasn't happened, so that's going to happen in about an hour or 2 hours. So I was looking at it in the past because I was looking at Monday. But we're in Tuesday, and so we're going to actually see Venus in Aries join Chiron in Aries. So that is a wounding of women around aggressive energy. We have the moon conjunct Jupiter in Sagittarius. Also, actually, that could be a really pleasant energy, and that started at 7:44 a.m. And it's in trine to Venus by sign. Let me just look at the chart here and see how far off they are. Yeah, Venus is joining with Mercury today in Aries, and she's also with Chiron and Vesta, but she's trining. She actually doesn't exactly trine the Moon-Jupiter conjunction in the fire sign because they're at very late degrees of Sagittarius, where Venus and Mercury are at early degrees. So they're not in a cooperative energy to the Sagittarius energy today. They're squaring just by late degree. Venus squares the moon by the fact that the moon is about to change into an earth sign, and Venus just went into a fire sign. So even though you would think they were trying because they're both fire, they're not. They're moving early and late degrees makes them closer to a square. But anyway, so today Venus is squaring off with the moon, which isn't really pleasant because it's mothers and daughters not getting along necessarily, and it is the energy of fire, so it is a fiery exchange. It can be more potent, and it is energy of shift and change around desires and security. Then we have, and also value, personal values. So we have a sextile between Saturn and Neptune today. And that is kind of an ongoing sextile, honestly, because Neptune is fairly slow-moving. Saturn is going to be going retrograde fairly soon. But it is a cooperative energy around changing what your career is towards something that is beneficial and promotive of your own vision for what you want your career and life purpose to look like. So it is working towards your benefit. And then on the other side, Neptune is squaring Mars at 15 degrees. So Mars is moving in this week to a direct square on Saturday at 9:03 a.m. to Neptune. And that is likelihood of a storm because Mars is action in Gemini, which is air energy and weather patterns. So there's going to be probably a storm, and a square to Neptune. Neptune rules the oceans. So this could be a significant weather event closer to the end of the week. And Neptune does rule large quantities of people as well as water because Neptune's so slow. We are affected over the course of generations, like a generation. So it is the energy of the masses. So keep an eye on that. Let's see where Mercury is. Mercury is in Aries, so he's in fire. And he's kind of moving into a sextile with Mars. So there's a fire-air energy, meaning that there is a fiery, billowy exchange, but it's like the air is fueling. Because remember, they are in mutual reception, meaning Mercury is in Mars's sign of Aries and Mars is in Mercury's sign of Gemini. So they are communicating and cooperating. So even though my particular program doesn't show that they are in sextile, they actually are in sextile because they are within 8 degrees of orb, and that's my go-to. I just always use 8 degrees either side for the aspects. It's the easiest, it's the most succinct, and I just prefer that. So just trying to shake it down. There's so much to remember in astrology, and so I just 8 degrees either side. So Tuesday, Moon enters Capricorn, and that happens at 6:50 p.m. this evening. And again, I'm telling you, ever since Pluto went into Capricorn in 2007, it was December, I believe, of 2007. I looked it up again recently. The energy of any planet entering Capricorn always makes me think of what happened with the housing market bubble and any kind of bubble of positivity, cooperation, which actually is happening yesterday and today with the moon on Jupiter. There has been a clear-mindedness, maybe a little more peaceful, calming energy, and just a feeling of pleasantness and optimism. But as Moon moves into Capricorn, he also moves into the place where Saturn is at, and the South Node conjunct Saturn and Pluto. So it is a time of really coming to an understanding about Pluto energy. I am in the middle of writing a very long article about the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto next year, and it's really fascinating what I've seen in that particular event. And it's actually not just a single day, it's going to go over 2 days because there's more than 2 planets involved with this and more than 2 energies. It's the whole thing, trust me. And it's already like 7 or 8 paragraphs, and they're pretty good long paragraphs. So it's going to be a really big blog. And I would say go over to Angelic Zodiac and subscribe because I'm sending it out to my subscribers. It's going to get done today. I've been working on it for 3 days now. So I'm going to get it out today so that you can read all about this. And it's January of next year. So this is like fair warning that this is the culmination of some of this Pluto energy. And Pluto Wednesday is going to be pretty big, but of course this whole week's going to be big because we feel Pluto when it changes, when it slows down and then retrograde. So that's called the station period. So it's coming. You know, it's a very strong energy around major shifts psychologically. When Pluto goes forward, there's probably more energy around hiding information and hiding what we have. We are very intuitive with Pluto because Pluto rules Scorpio, and that is the energy of the hidden, the mystery, wanting to be the keeper. The power comes from being the keeper of the information. So when Pluto is forward in motion, he is gathering information and holding it as if it's currency. And it does actually, Pluto rules currency and value of two people together because it is the upper half of the chart, the we section, the transpersonal section of the chart, which means collective. So he finds out information on a collective level, and in your personal chart, wherever Pluto falls or wherever Pluto transits or wherever Scorpio is in your chart, that's where you tend to gather the information and hold it close to the chest. You don't let people see it because that's your personal currency and power. So Pluto is very potent, and when he changes direction, he, in the Earth energy of Capricorn, will shift Earth energy. He'll shift the Earth. He'll shift structures created during the forward motion. When he hits specific degrees that may have been associated with something being constructed, he can demolish it. He can go back and say, that's not what I wanted to do. It needs to change. And definitely Notre Dame being restructured, and it will get rebuilt. So it's basically going through this fire transformation, plutonic. It's very much connected to this energy, as well as other planets, which I think I mentioned last week during the podcast, having referenced that happening. And so, it's just a really strong energy of shift around the Earth plane, and so you'll see volcanoes, you'll see earthquakes, you will see major shifts of ideology because it does rule psychology. People's minds can be changed, and I guess I want to kind of clarify what a Pluto retrograde is, and any retrograde for that matter. The Western astrology that I practice is from a geocentric position, and there's also heliocentric astrology. So geocentric is from the Earth's perspective, and heliocentric, you might have guessed, is from the Sun's perspective. So the Sun energy is the center of the solar system, and of course we're just a planet rotating around the Sun. So the retrograde period is when the planets are in orbit around the Sun, but in perspective from where we are, they move around that orb to a position that appears to be going backwards from where we are. And that's the area of the sky where it appears to be going backwards. And that's just all visual, what's the term? I'm sure you're coming up with it. Starts with an O. I keep coming up with obstacle, but that's not what it is. It's an optical illusion. Thank you. So anyway, so that's the period where we see it retrograde. It's also an energy, or energetically affects us by pulling away and shifting the dynamic. And Pluto, when it retrogrades, will go back over the area like they all do. They go back over and review where they've been. And so Pluto is going to go back over anything that's happened recently, and he's going to evaluate it and literally evaluate it, because that's what Pluto is all about. It's determining value. So wherever Pluto falls in your chart, you're going to be evaluating the structure of the situation, the systems that you use, the dynamic with your boss, the dynamic of your career, because it's all about Capricorn, and you're going to evaluate if you're happy, and this is key because this is a huge part of what this Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January is all about. Are you paying attention to your backyard instead of pointing fingers to everyone else saying how they need to cut their grass and their weeds? Meanwhile, yours is going to pot because you're trying to take ownership of everyone else's stuff. That's what it's about. And so we're going to review and decide, is this truly what we want? So in the process of Pluto retrograding, he moves closer to Saturn, of course, until Saturn goes retrograde itself. And that happens at the end of April, on the 29th, 30th of April. So we have a month. Well, let's see, where are we? The 23rd. We have about a week before Saturn retrogrades, and that's interesting because Pluto and Saturn actually retrograde within a week of each other. And so I'm just going to look here, and it's coming up on the new moon as well. So Saturn retrogrades Monday, just the day before this next podcast. So maybe I'll try and talk about Saturn's retrograde in our Zoom podcast. So that'll just take me to task to get that done this week, and we'll talk about that. And Man, it brings us to the 24 minutes after the hour, and hopefully when we do the Zoom thing, not this first episode when I test it out, but ultimately I would like to do an hour on Zoom so that it'll be like the original show has been 1 hour long, and then we can do half an hour talking about astrology and half an hour taking calls and questions. So anyway, let's quickly take a call and see what we have. Hi, 202. How are you? Are you there?
Hey, Shelley. It's Kay. Hey.
Hi,
How
Kay.
are you?
Good.
Hey.
What's up?
Well, one comment about what you were saying about the Taurus entering Uranus and food.
Right.
I would actually agree with that. I've actually noticed, because I think my 5th house has some Taurus in it, and I've noticed more of a detachment, actually, as opposed to, like, super pleasurable,
Have you? That's awesome.
indulgent eating. Thank God.
Oh, good.
So,
yeah, right?
I'm appreciating
That's
that.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually thought we would see that more towards the end of Uranus and Taurus. I wasn't expecting it at the beginning. I was expecting kind of more increased chemical use, but people seem to be like what you said, and my daughter and myself, and I'm just getting much more. People are aware of how their bodies are feeling, and they're not feeling good. And maybe that's because of the trine to the Capricorn energy right now. It could be.
That makes total sense.
So, so
I just wanted to share that with you,
just
to let you know you're totally on the ball with that. But my question for you is, so I'm currently, I've been in New Orleans for like a month visiting, and I actually really like it down here. And I don't know, I just wanted to maybe look into the area. New Orleans.
Where are you at?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Oh, okay. Okay, great.
And I just wanted to check it out and see also, like, I would love to find a gig down here. So see if you see any good vibes or what you see.
New Orleans is awesome for that. There's a lot of, are you talking about acting or filmmaking? I would assume filmmaking.
Yeah, production, film production. Yep.
Yeah,
it's getting big down here.
Yeah, they do a lot around that area, from what I understand. Actually, this week is a really good time if you're putting out the vibes. I hope you're telling lots of people what you do and trying to get some networking connections going. Because Jupiter is within 2 degrees of your Neptune, and I know we've talked about this a while, but Jupiter's retrograding back over your Neptune. So it's really the refining energy around your career. And, of course, Sagittarius rising, Jupiter owns Sagittarius, rules it. So having Jupiter on your Neptune is you've gone far away from where you're normally at, which is Jupiter. It's travel, and it's expanding the idea of your dream. And of course, this is also, I know you know some of this because I talked to you, but those who are new to the podcast, Neptune rules film and filmmaking. And so having Jupiter on your Neptune and it's retrograding over it, it's really a refinement of the story for you and a connection to the energy of yourself, your sense of self, and where you feel comfortable in the world. So if you feel like staying in New Orleans or looking there, I would absolutely say, yeah, that sounds like, and I got chills with that. So, I think that is a good energy for you. And also the moon is at the last degrees of the sign. So I'm trying to see. I don't know. I think it's void of course. I'd have to check real quick here on my little app. It looks like it's void of course. I'm going to just double check. No,
it might be because I think it goes into Cap really soon, like tonight.
Yeah, it's only 5 degrees away. So that means that it's kind of a done deal. In other words, that whatever's going to happen has already been set up and is like a fait accompli. That's how I look at it usually, is that void of course, as they say, it's Anne Ortley always says the universe isn't working, so why should you? So it's kind of like, to me, you've already achieved what's going to happen. In other words, that the wheels of motion have already been put in place. And so you just kind of have to wait to see it culminate. And going into the Capricorn energy is when you can culminate it. And Capricorn energy in your first house, and you have Saturn there, as we all know, the moon going into Capricorn is saying, hey, you've got to own who you are and your own personal credibility in the situation. So it's kind of like making your own fortune. so to speak. And, the energy of 2007, 2008 really hit you personally in your first house and your sense of self.
Right.
It's kind of like that too, and of course it's going to square the energy of Aries, which is where Chiron is right now, so the moon squaring Chiron and then Vesta. So it is kind of a sense that someone in your home life is giving you a difficult time, or a sibling. I mean, I talk to you a lot. I don't really remember if you've told me you have brothers and sisters. Do you have any siblings?
I do have two siblings. One of them is not giving me a hard time, but she's having a hard time, like just under a lot of stress with work and stuff, and she's going to actually be moving back home because it's been just really heavy. So I don't know if that could be pertaining to it.
Well, interestingly enough, in your chart, Mercury, which rules siblings, just went into home and family, and it's near Vesta, so there is some energy around a sibling and a bit of difficulty with home life or having someone who's a little bit more abrasive. Feminine energy is more abrasive towards a sibling, so that would, and aggressive. So, I mean, I know she may be moving home, but there's probably going to be more difficulty even living at home just from dynamics, when you're an older person, you go back and try and live with family and parents. It's like not always easy.
Oh yeah,
but,
especially with my mom.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna transit through there though. It's only a temporary thing. Absolutely, anything with Mercury is going to be temporary. So, and honestly, when that Mercury energy gets out of the home and family house, it goes right on top of Uranus when it gets to Taurus, and so it's about a month away, a little less than a month away, and that's going to be like, I got to get out of here, I got to be independent, and I'm going to go do something that may seem unusual, but it's going to work out, and just head out, But for you, definitely having the energy move into Capricorn with the moon, it's about getting your roots set up and thinking about rooting in, which is what Capricorn needs to do. It wants to set roots down and deep. And so, and for you also, because, even though your sibling is Mercury, it's also how you think about things. So you're thinking about family, you're thinking about home. Your Venus is in your house of communications in Aries, and Aries and Mercury are both, Venus in Aries and Mercury in Aries are about self-promotion. So it is a good time for self-promotion, but I would wait even a day because Venus will be going over Chiron, which is wounded heel. It's actually it's within 5 degrees of Chiron right now. So she's going to be transiting over Chiron, and then once she gets past Chiron, then you won't have, like, whatever you initiate won't have that approaching Chiron as part of the chart. So, so it'll be like moving away from that. There is the Vesta energy again, still at 9 degrees. So Venus it's kind of like Mercury, fairly close to Mercury. It takes about a day and a half to go a degree. So, let me see, 6. So it's about a week away from getting past Vesta too, right in a week timeline. I don't know, how long are you staying in New Orleans?
I leave on Thursday, but I have the opportunity to kind of go back and forth.
Awesome.
Because someone in the film industry needs a place to stay in New York, and we're doing kind of a swap thing. So it's like I'm kind of checking out New Orleans, and she's checking out New York, kind of thing.
Very cool.
And I would love to be able to make it here. Like, do you see the ability to make money soon? I need some money to come in. I need to work so I can actually bring in some income.
Yeah. Actually, Moon on Pluto in your house of money. See, this is the thing with Capricorn, and it's not my pleasure to say it, but it's part of the reality of Capricorn is it chills things down. It's a cooling energy. So Pluto just went into your house of money, and that means it's like a major shift around, like sucking the wind out of your sails, so to speak. Mars is probably going to be your better bet, and that means that you're going to want to be in a partnership with someone, and it's a networking partnership. It's communicating with someone who has a similar dream. And honestly, I would encourage you to go towards partnership because Mars is literally minutes away from going into your house of partnerip. Your partnership house has
right?
15, yeah, exactly, 1556, and it's at 1522. So it's literally 30 minutes of astrological time from going in, which means the next couple of days it'll be in your house of partnership. and you're very chatty and charismatic to other people at that time. And I think you will be able to find a partner if that's what you want. And I think, honestly, Mars is how you can take action towards what you want to do. And that is going to be your best bet chart right now for getting money. And also Venus goes into the home and family house pretty quick for the next month. So you may end up having to get money from family. But close to the end of May will be a good time. You'll be in creative mode, entrepreneurship mode, and then Mars will be working with you in partnership. So I definitely say focus on the partnership aspect. Okay?
Cool. And then I also know that my progressed moon, I'm excited, is going into Aries at the end of May. I'm excited about that because I hear that that's like, that's like good action, right?
Yeah, because it's like nurturing yourself and being able to say, hey, these are my attributes, do something for me. And yeah, it's really very self-promotive, so it'll be good. Marketing yourself and what your interests are. And, there's some communication broadcasting or something around writing a book or a play or a movie or some kind of writing endeavor. Your early Aries degrees are in your house of writing. So. And teaching.
Yeah, that's what my question was, like, because my Aries house is my house of home. So does that mean a lot of focus will be in the home? Is that a good thing?
Well, it can mean that touching base with the home energy will definitely help you to promote yourself. But I'm sorry, I'm going to have to end the conversation because my podcast is short now.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Go on Facebook and keep an eye out there because then, when we transition to a different format and different place for the podcast, then you'll keep in touch with us, okay?
Congrats on that, by the way, on the new energy with all of that. Congrats. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. Aries energy really does energize me, and I'm kind of excited with it. I've had my first boyfriend was an Aries. There was a lot of bickering with that one. But overall, Aries energy personally really makes me excited and very aware of things and alert and excited to act on things and do things. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this shift of energy. As much as I love Pisces, I need a break.
Ugh,
so anyway,
God, I'm over it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, you take care, Kay. Good talking to you. Have a good week. And have fun in New Orleans. Okay. Take care. Bye. Okay, that's the podcast for the week. Like I said, go over to the Facebook page. I'm on Instagram at AngelicZodiac1. Please do follow me there, and I will talk to you soon. Also, if you want to check out my astrology book, it's on e-format, and it's on my AngelicZodiac.com page. You can check out my art at ShelleyOverton.com, SHELLEY Overton.com. And I don't mention it much, but I have another website called DottedSky.com, which is a blog and a lot of other fun, creative goodies over there. So go check them all out, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye. Thanks for stopping by AstroEnergy this week. If you would like to get a hold of Shelley Overton, you can get her at astrologerangel.com, on Facebook at AstroEnergy or Astrologer Angel. The music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com with additional music by Ironwood Rain. Check them out on the net at ironwoodrain.com. To subscribe, please click the picture of Shelley on the right or the red button below.